Leadership to me is about people, the way in which you look after your people in order to help them grow. Key ingredient for me to success was hard work and curiosity.
What does it take to go from doubting yourself to owning your role as a fun, humble and loyal leader? For Pip Wilkins, CEO of the British Franchise Association, it's been a journey of realising her impact and knowing that not every decision requires leadership. You started at 19 at the BFA.
Yep.
How long did it take to become the CEO?
16, 17 years, yeah. Where else in business do you get competitive organisations that will sit in the same room and share know-how and best practice?
Pip shares how she climbed the ladder, stayed motivated and evolved her leadership to make the real difference. This episode is brought to you by Jira IT. Let's do this.
Franchising changes people's lives. You see the way that through our awards programs and things that somebody that they didn't have that idea themselves, find this business model where someone can teach them to be a business owner. We want to help other people succeed.
ActionCOACH, the help you need to grow your business. Pip, what is leadership? What's your definition of leadership?
To me?
Yeah.
Leadership to me is about people. So it's the way in which you look after your people in order to help them grow.
Who's looked after you and helped you grow over the years?
Well, that's a really good question. For me, obviously, I had a predecessor at the BFA who was my boss for most of my time there. But most of my growth, I think, has come from working with other people within the franchising sector. So you will know from being in it that it's very much like a family. So mine has come from learning from the people I work with, but also the people that you surround yourself with.
It's really good, isn't it? So that whole family environment, the thing that you said before that was you had a predecessor. That's not, bizarrely, that's not actually that common, actually, that people are succession planning for the next. I mean, were you succession planned?
Not as such. One of the first questions that my boss asked me one day was, throw all the balls up at the air, in the air at the BFA. What job do you want to do? And I was like, well, I've been there a year, I was 20. And I went, yours. So for me, it was always something where I wanted to grow and develop, wanted to be the person that was the boss and was in charge of the decisions. That was me at 20.
You started at 19.
Yep.
At the BFA.
Yep. And
you've gone in from entry level to CEO.
Yep.
How long did it take to become the CEO? When was it?
2016, and I started in 1999, so
17 years.
16, 17 years, yeah.
There you go. That is commitment, isn't it?
Dedication to the cause, I like to think.
Well, you're an anti-job hopper. You're the polar opposite of a job hopper.
Yeah.
What's made you stay so long?
People, making a difference. I never stayed in one job. So for me, as you would, I think, typically early in your career when you might get bored, I obviously did experience that, but it was very much a case of, here's a different role that you can try, or here's a different part of the BFA that you can play in, if you like. I was, I think, lucky to grow up at the association. So as I grew, the BFA was growing. And it just provided plenty of opportunity to do. I started in literally an admin role. I stuffed envelopes and made coffee, was my first part of my job. And then I think for me, curiosity of what you could grow into, what was going on in other departments, made me start to play an interest in different areas. And therefore, when we started developing our events, I got the opportunity to do events, and then realised that by building relationships with members, we were bringing new brands on board, or they were becoming more engaged. So roles kind of created around me. So I was really lucky, but I think the key ingredient for me to success was hard work and curiosity.
Hard work and curiosity. Are they the key sort of mindsets or strategies that you've applied along the way? Or are there more than curiosity and...
I think growth, you want to be, I always wanted to be successful, and I don't know how you define that. I don't know, I didn't do university. I went to college immediately after school. I did a BTEC National in computing. I could take the motherboard of a computer apart, but I I originally went because I wanted to program my own games. That's what I thought I wanted to do. When I realised how intense and detailed computer programming was, I was like, nah. And we relocated like as a family. So I moved with my mum and dad. I worked in a bar for 6 months with them and was like, no, wrong side of the bar. Didn't like the unsociable hours. Loved the being around people. So that's always been a thing for me. I'm a very social person. But I wanted to do something where I could make a difference. I wanted to work in an office because I thought it was the done thing to do. And that's kind of how I found the BFA. It was purely by accident. I went in for an interview with a recruiter in franchising to this day, and he asked me what I thought of franchising. And there was a poster on the wall that said, franchising is the way of the future. And that's what I said. That's what I think franchising is. And then learnt about it as I went along.
And it's stuck with you since?
Yeah.
And that was 99, yeah?
Yeah, 25 years ago.
25 years ago. Franchising is the way of the future.
Now everyone knows how old I am. You know that, right?
Yeah. Yes, they do. I think you're the same age as me. So there you go. Franchising is the way of the future, and it is. Mm-hmm. There's so many franchising businesses out there. Businesses that you wouldn't suspect to franchise.
It can touch your life every day. When you look at franchising and you say, okay, what do I need doing in my house? You know, they clean ovens, there's lawn mowing, garden maintenance, there's domestic cleaning.
Chimney sweeping.
Yep, chimney sweeping, you name it. You can touch a franchise if you wanted to every day. And it's things that people didn't even know, you know, like people that come and rod your drains when you get a blockage. You know, it's the stuff for me that, and you see franchising changes people's lives. So you see the way that through our awards programs and things that somebody that they didn't have that idea themselves and they fell about franchising, most of them, it is accidental, and they find this business model where someone can teach them to be a business owner, to do everything that you don't need the skill set when you leave school or university to do. The franchisor is going to teach you. They're going to show you how to do finances, marketing, sales, operations. So you basically, I don't like the term business in a box, I think it's a bit crude, but you get a business that someone is going to train and support you to be successful in.
You do, and that original point that you touched, most people do touch franchising every day in terms of buying from the petrol stations. Yep. A lot of petrol stations are franchised. Subway, Costa Coffee, McDonald's. Yep. You know,
when you want to go do shopping, you go to One Stop. Yeah. There is loads of different brands. You know, you go on holiday, you might use Go Cruise to go on holiday, but you know, someone's going to board your dog while you're away, and in comes, you know, We Love Pets or something. So
it's crazy, isn't it?
It is insane.
It is crazy. So go back to your career. Have you always been driven by career progression?
No, I think I'm more driven by people and making a difference. You know, so I enjoy watching people succeed, which is, I think, what I really like about the franchising model. But I didn't really know anything about it. And like I said, I'm quite a people person. So I learned on the job, but I learned with other people. I grew up in franchising. So for me, it's seeing how it's made a difference to people's lives, seeing how other people have progressed. But once I had been at the association for a little while, I think the key thing for me was, you know, there were things that we weren't doing as a business that I wanted to see change. You know, I wanted to see the association be a bit more modern. But for me, the most important thing is, you know, every day's a school day. Nobody ever stops learning. And where I said, you know, about curiosity and always being an inquisitive kind of person, I wanted to give people access to grow too, you know, where the best environment to learn is to sit down with somebody that's been there before you, they've done it before you, they've made the mistakes, and they can share it with you. And that works at franchisee level, it works at franchisor level, it works at advisor level, and it's a community that I've never seen anywhere else, where we care about each other. We want to help other people succeed. You know, where else in business do you get competitive organisations that will sit in the same room and share know-how and best practice? It just doesn't happen. So I think it was the community that made me want to stay in franchising. I always say to people, once you get in it, it's very rare that you get out. You know, you sort of stay in and you're in it for the long haul. And I've seen people go from job to job in franchising. I've seen people go from a career working for a franchisor to becoming a franchisee. I've seen franchisees turn franchisors. It's an incredible like eco structure, if you like.
It is, and you're convincing me on it. Really, just sharing it there is passion. I mean, look, your philosophy of, you enjoy helping people succeed every day, helping other people succeed. You're more interested in that than career progression. That's how you started that. But seeing the association change was the driver for you as well. And I quite like that every day is a school day concept that you've alluded to. What are you most proud of? Is there a person that's a standout moment, like where someone has really developed themselves?
Within my team. So I work really closely with my previous CEO. She's now gone on to work for a franchisor. I'm watching her growth journey, but it happened alongside my own. Was really nice. But, there's our standards manager. He's been with the association for 8 years.
Standards manager, what's that?
Someone that looks after everything that we do from a compliance perspective. So when a brand looks to come on board with the BFA, we don't just go, cheers, we'll have your money, you can be a member. We take them through quite a rigorous process. We look at the background of the company. We look at the people behind it. We look at their accounts, their marketing materials, everything, to make sure that they're trading ethically. And we brought on a guy 8 years ago, Andy. He's awesome. He's 8 years with the BFA and has grown from knowing nothing about franchising to being the guardian of our standards. What Andy doesn't know about the ethics of franchising and the rules of the BFA isn't worth knowing. So it's those kind of growth journeys. My current head of membership and standards came from a background not in franchising. I wanted to see more people from a customer experience background, so that when they were working with our members, it was a customer first mentality, because at the end of the day, members are customers regardless. We're providing a service, so it was really putting them at the forefront. So I headhunted him from within the convenience sector. He'd a long career working in Tesco, in Morrison. He's done people manager roles, and said, look, there's this job in franchising. Unfortunately for him, I sold it in coffee and cake, going and talking to franchisors, and we went into lockdown and he spent a year in his back bedroom. But, he's now grown from being somebody that's on the road to leading that team, and is out on the road now with me. We're in London for meetings over the next couple of days, but he's talking to now senior brands about joining the BFA from somebody that knew nothing about franchising.
Bit of a blinding flash of the obvious, that, because there's two roles that you mentioned there, and both their titles have got standards in it. So talk about leadership, setting the standards there. So the standards manager, what impact has that had on the BFA? Just having that compliance manager, standards manager.
We've always had it in place. So when the BFA was established, it wasn't like other associations around the world. When it was established 40 years ago, before I was born, the association was set with a foundation of standards. Right. It was about making sure that people traded ethically. We self-regulate in the UK. We wanted to become the self-regulatory body. So the standards and what franchisors do have been the base, the core of the BFA from day one. That will never change. We now, when we talk about education, we don't just throw up a program and stick a supplier to talk to you. Everything that we want to do is about a standards-based advice. It's about giving people the tools that they need at the right time, but connecting them with the right people. There are unscrupulous franchise consultants in the marketplace that don't go through the accreditation process. We even accredit the advisors and the suppliers and the consultants that come on board to make sure that we're doing things in the right way all of the time.
Yeah, I suppose even some of the listeners are non-franchise business, but they're taking ideas from what you're sharing here of having someone in charge of compliance, having someone in charge of standards and ethics, and making sure that we're putting that in place. I mean, the other thing that you mentioned was membership standards, customer centric. Why is customers at the heart of your thinking there? This episode is brought to you by Jira IT, your trusted partner in IT. Whether it's cybersecurity, outsourced IT support, or IT solutions that are designed to help you grow your business, visit jirait.co.uk, where technology meets growth.
Because they're the people, they pay for a service. And for me, if you're going to promise something, you deliver on that promise. I hate it when somebody says you're going to get X, Y, and Z and you only get X. So when we bring brands on board and we talk to them about what they're going to get from the BFA, it's making sure that what we're saying we're going to deliver on our promises are things that we keep. It goes back to standards and ethics. It literally cut me open and that's what I bleed. So I just think that I've forgotten the original question now.
Yeah, well, it's just about why did you put the customer at the heart of everything that you do with the membership?
Because they're the people that we work with. They're the most important people, is the members, the stakeholders of the BFA. We're a trade association and we represent them. So ensuring that however we develop or innovate as an association comes back to what the members want. We do a survey every year. It's what's the key thing that you get from us? What's the key thing that you want? And that's what we build our strategic plans off the back of.
Warren Buffett is a pretty clever guy, Warren Buffett. And he was on a video and he said this, he goes, you know what the most important thing in business is? Out of everything there is in business, you name all of the different areas in business, the most important thing in business is your customer. Mm-hmm. And he just attached a bit of drama and suspense to that thing. I mean, and you just reminded me of it as soon as you said it. Because
without them, you don't exist. If we didn't have members, there's no point in leading an awesome team internally. They've got nothing to deliver to an end user.
I can see how you're leading this organisation and why people want to be in there and that whole family that you're creating, especially with the standards and memberships and customer centric. How has your leadership evolved since you've been a CEO, actually, since 2016? How has your leadership evolved since then?
So when I first got the job, I had that, I think you have a glee moment. And I say this, like when you talk to people about buying a franchise, you have a glee moment. The first day when someone goes, you're the CEO, and you're like, yes, I am. And then I'm not going to lie, oh crap, what do I do came into it for me. So I didn't go to university, as I said earlier. I knew about franchising. I'd managed people. I'd never led a team. And more to the point, I'd never led an industry. And I had this huge case of imposter syndrome for about a year where I started writing out, mission, vision and values and I wrote them all down and I knew what they were and I knew what I wanted to say and what my new vision statement was going to be. And I didn't tell anyone because it's frightening what they think. And I bought books, How to Be the Perfect CEO. And I had a real crisis of conscience of what I was going to do. And I think for me, the most important thing about leadership and the most important thing that I've learned and has now shaped everything is I spent some time getting to know me. I did therapy from a personal perspective. I got myself a business coach. I'd never had one. So I went external and it was a friend that referred and I spent some time with this lady and she was like, right, let's talk about who you are and what you want to achieve and where you want to go. And when I got comfortable in me, I then started to make a difference, I think. You kind of... It's not grow balls, but I got brave and I was like, okay, I actually think my ideas are good and I'm going to share them and see where it goes. And the more momentum that gains, the more confidence you gain, I think, in your own leadership style.
It's quite interesting that, for you to share in a humble way that you had imposter syndrome.
I think everyone does.
Yeah.
It's whether they admit it or not. It's
How did you feel talking about it then? I mean, do you feel vulnerable talking about it, or does it make you feel confident?
Oh, now confident.
But then
I didn't talk about it. That's the whole point. And that's I struggled internally for a year before I sat down and said to people, I'm I don't have all of the answers. And that's where through coaching, it's about surrounding yourself with people that are better than you. Knowing that you're never going to have all of the answers, that it's impossible. No one can. But it was that knowing that you should ask for help, tap into the resources around you, find your tribe and that trusted circle of people that are going to help strive forward. And things just started to get easier and it got more comfortable. Coaching, I would be a massive advocate of. I think everyone should have a business coach. even if you don't need it for the general technicals, the critical friend relationship that you build with a coach, where you can pick up the phone and go, I'm having a really bad day and I've got this idea, and they go, what are you worried about? And you're like, that's a very good point. So I just think it's really important.
Look, that you're definitely evolving as a leader here. 25 years, has your motivation changed? How have you maintained it? Without wanting to move on and stay focused on where you're going? And
because there's been a constant change for me. And I think as you get comfortable with change, the moment I look at where I'm at the BFA and I think I'm not making a difference anymore, or I don't still love it and I'm still passionate about it, will be the moment that I want to walk away and build the succession for somebody else to come on board. I think it's really important that you reconnect with your why a lot. So, why you got into a career or a role or a franchise originally, you need sometimes to just take stock, look at how far you've come and work out where you still want to go. Does it align to your personal values and your goals? And for me, the BFA has always done that. The roles have changed, but the end goal, the making a difference, and people talk about leaving a legacy. I just want to leave the association better than I ever found it. I want to make sure that there is career paths for the people that sit within my team. They are as committed to the cause as I am. It's quite unique to work for a not-for-profit trade association. You're not in it for the money. You're in it because you want to make a difference. And that's something that comes across in spades and with abundance with the whole BFA team. So it's about providing opportunity for other people. And while I can still do that and it still gives me a warm, fuzzy feeling, I think that's the right thing to do. So I don't get bored, because when I do, I can change the direction, or I can drive it forward in a different way. Or so no, I've never got to the stage where I'm like, don't want to do this anymore yet.
When you got your coach, after a year of that imposter syndrome, and do you feel like you're making a bigger difference after you've got the coach?
Oh yeah, 100%. Because they help. For me, it helped put me on a path. It helped give me some structure in some ways. It helped and reiterate. So I did a diploma in applied business management. So it was at Warwick University. It was probably 10 years into my journey with the BFA. And my boss said, you're poorly educated, go and do this course. And I was like, okay. And I went to school for 2 days a month for 3 months. And then I wrote an assignment applying it to work. And one of the modules was all around leadership. And the key thing that came out of it was the dance floor versus the balcony. I will happily play on the dance floor, dancing with my team, having a lovely time, and forget that I needed to look bigger picture. And the first time I got a business coach, they reminded me of that. Yes, there are times when you need to run downstairs and get on the dance floor and dance with the people there, but your job is to be up on the balcony looking at what they're doing and looking at where you're going. So for me, it was a reminder. And coaching, I think, just refocuses you. It's someone that, as I said, you can bounce off of, but they will give you, Pip, get back up on the dance floor. What are you doing?
Yeah, well, look, the analogy there of get back on the balcony, off the dance floor, onto the balcony, it reminds me of the great Stephen Covey. He said in one of his seminars, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, he said on one of his seminars, the leaders in the tree, the guys, the managers are down below on the ground, cutting through wherever they're going or whatever they're doing. So it just reminded me of that analogy.
But you do get to the stage where you can be on the dance floor and still on the balcony at the same time. Where...
Tell us about
that. For me now, it used to be something that was very, get up on the balcony, go down to the dance floor, and now I feel like I can stand on the dance floor, I can be dancing with my team, but I'm still, there's a version of me looking at where I'm going still.
What's the difference then?
I think a lot of it comes with experience. It comes with doing it a lot more. And
Everyone's doing the right thing. Everybody's moving in the right direction. Everyone's clear on their roles. They're all doing that, and you're just with them a little bit.
Yeah.
That's the picture you painted.
Yeah. I have to make myself stay out of the detail. I'm a detail-driven person. My disc profile doesn't say that, but I am one of those people that, you know, if you give me the detail, I will swim in it. So I now manage myself by managing the team and say, don't give me the detail, because I'll swim in that all day long. Just give me the high level. What do I need to know? Where are we at?
What's been your own defining moment along the way in personal growth and development yourself?
It was the Warwick Uni course, I think, changed a lot for me longer term.
When was that?
About 10 years in. I got it as a gift. It was like, congratulations, you've done 10 years at the BFA, now do some more work. And that
what
made
was the course?
It was a diploma in applied business management. So you did it alongside work, and it was a struggle to get through it because the time commitment was huge, but it was the best thing I ever did. And it did make me think about doing an MBA afterwards, and then I realised that I don't like writing bibliographies.
But what makes you say it was the best thing you ever did?
Because it made me look at things differently. And I think that's the really important thing, and it's the one thing that I try to do with my team is when you're looking at a problem, if you can look at it in a different way, it changes the outcome. You know, you the dread goes away and you start thinking solution based. It just changed the way I thought about stuff. You know, we did an exercise, and I'll never forget it. He gave us a pack of cards, and we were in a group, and he said, plan to organise the cards in the most disorganised way possible. And we walked into a room, and we were sat, and there was 2 green seats and the rest of the seats were black. And I sat in a black seat, and he said, people in the black chairs can't speak. And 45 minutes, the people in the green chairs argued about what they should do with the pack of cards. I was absolutely enraged by the end of it because it was such a simple task, but no one wanted to make a decision. So for me, making decisions, I find it difficult. I will ponder more over what I want for my tea than I will a business decision. It's really strange. But, you know, that was a frustration for me, that you could see that actually debating decisions, sometimes a simple one, you don't need to do that.
That's a really powerful example, isn't it? It's like, I mean, it's completely orchestrated. He's given an objection and disorganized these cards in the most organized way, or whatever he said. I'd have to go back and listen to it. Given instructions, and then he's literally 45 minutes. He's made you sit and watch because you literally can't do anything other than observe.
It was horrific.
But what did that teach you? Just sitting and observing. About what did it teach you about leadership? I have no
patience whatsoever. No, it's for me that, you know, it came back to the decision-making side of things. You know, that small decisions don't require consultation. But what I didn't like about leadership when I was being raised, I suppose, 25 years ago, I think that leadership was very hierarchical. It was very dictatorial. You know, you had a structure. You know, you can't do this, you won't do that. And I think I started out in leadership very much with the view that I never wanted to be that person. Sometimes you do need to make a decision and just say, guys, this is what we're doing and this is where we're going. But I think that leadership has evolved so much in the last 25 years that now the most important part of leadership is taking that human approach. You know, having empathy, having compassion, putting people at the heart. And for me, the thing that I've probably learned the most in the last 10 years is listen more than you speak. You know, it was always a really important thing when you're out talking to members. You know, you don't want me to come and sit and talk about the BFA. You want to tell me about your business and then ask me how I can help you. You know, so it's kind of shut your mouth, open your ears and understand what's going on, because actually what's going on in people's personal lives, their values, their ambitions are all the things that you can use is the wrong word, work with to motivate somebody and to support them. And I just think, you know, for me, that's that's an important part, and probably my key lesson learned, to come back to your question.
Yeah,
I went way off piste on for a while.
One of the original comments, though, was small decisions don't require leadership, actually.
Yeah.
Just let them get on with it.
Yeah.
The big decisions require leadership. Yes, they do.
Yeah.
Starting your own business was an exciting time, wasn't it? The good days you had and the bad. You knew you'd have to work hard, but you did it for your future. Lately, though, you're missing out on the important things in life. Time seems to be slipping by. So make the change. Claim back your work-life balance and grow your business today. Visit actioncoach.co.uk.
Yeah, but for me, it's like I just said, it's a consultative approach. That's the way that people should lead, is to sit down. You employ people because you trust them. So it's sitting down and it's bringing that team of people together to say, where do we want to go, guys? We've got this option. Should we take it? Let's debate pros and cons. Let's whiteboard it out if that's what you want to do. But, we will sit and have conversations internally about, is this the right direction? Is this the right initiative for us to launch as the association? But most importantly, are we doing it to make our life easier, or are we doing it to improve the customer experience? And that's the thing for me, is it's always trying to remember your key drivers. So if you're putting standards and the customer at the heart and people at the heart of what you do, that's the way that you'll roll things up.
Yeah, I feel that I've got to summarise that, because that is really, really powerful, right? Ridiculously. The original point was small decisions don't require leadership. Big decisions do, though. Mm-hmm. And if you're going to do it, you do it from a consultative approach. It's people, it's empathy, it's inclusion, including the team. And then you said, and when you do it, you put standards, people, and the customer at the heart of your thinking. Yeah. That's a good roadmap for all of the listeners listening right now. Okay, so were you the first female CEO?
Yes.
And were there any challenges? Have you faced any challenges along the way?
I think my coming up through the ranks didn't help. So because franchising when I started was quite a male-dominated sector.
So
and
senior executives, it's still a male-dominated.
Yeah, so when you look at franchising, I think it's slightly different. So quite a lot of senior leadership teams in franchising are dominated by females, but the CEO or the founder tends to be male.
Right.
I think that the old school of franchising found it quite difficult, that it was a female under the age of 40 and she got the job as the CEO and she's been there all along, kind of thing. It was a really rigorous process. I don't think I've ever been so nervous. I hadn't interviewed for a long time. It was like a 3.5 stage interview process. I had to do aptitude tests, intelligence tests. The panel interview was 6 people, and 6 people that I've worked with from the age of 19. So some of them were a bit like, well, she's the girl that makes the tea. So I think it was tough initially. And as I said, I think that's where imposter syndrome creeped in. So some of it could have been in my mind. But when you look at what franchising was and the number of females that were in a room when you went to a networking event 25 years ago, it was me and one other standing having a coffee and a chat. And then, lots of middle-aged men in grey suits. But, that's what franchising was back then. You walk into a BFA event now, you probably wouldn't see somebody wearing a tie. Back then, everyone was in a suit and tie. So I just think that, like any business, franchising has evolved.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was tough early days for me, particularly straight into the CEO position, having been with the BFA for a long time. But there are, for every negative voice, I think, in franchising, there's 100 positive. And, we've had a really strong board of directors throughout the entire journey for me that have been massively supportive of my journey. And I can pick up the phone to any of my board directors and bounce off of them And they've all got different strengths. So, if I want to talk finance, there's one on that I speak to. If I want to talk marketing, there's another. We're going through an internal recruitment process at the moment, and I've asked one of the board to sit on second interviews for a different perspective. So if you ask for help, there is a huge amount of support in franchising. So
how important was it for you to get the relationship established with the board yourself and start using them for interviews?
I think I already had it. Because I set myself up from day one as somebody that did bounce off of other people. I've always used members to speak at events, and that was kind of something that I really cultivated in getting members more engaged and giving them profile through different speaking opportunities. So you build relationships that way, and a lot of them then have obviously grown up.
Yeah.
And then come on and they're on the board. So, I've known a lot of them for a very long time. But yeah, I think, the board, when you get on the board of the BFA, you don't do it because you want to develop yourself. It's because you're at that stage where you want to give back. So they want to invest their time. They want to, support and help the association structure in the way that I want to direct it. We have brainstorming sessions once a year with the board on where could we go, here's what the members have said, so they get involved in some of the putting the structure of strategic planning together with us. But yeah, it's a consultative. For me, everything should be a consultative approach. I don't believe in I'm the ultimate BFA and everything that I say is what we're going to do. It doesn't, most of the ideas don't come from me. They come from spending time with our members, understanding what their needs are, and then structuring a service to fit around that.
Yeah, that's come through loud and clear, and keep making that point as many times as you want, actually, on the consultative approach. Just a couple of things that have come out from what you've said there. So just going back to that interview where there was 6 people on it, what did you learn most?
To stand my ground. So there was a particular line of questioning at one of my interviews that I shut down because I thought it was inappropriate. It was talking about somebody that I then worked with, and I was like, no, not doing it. So I think, for me, standing my ground, but it was understanding what they were looking for and where they wanted to grow the association. They didn't want to see the association, most of the people around that table, stand still. They wanted to see the growth and innovation. And the thing that for me was probably one of the selling points for the CEO role was I wanted to create this training academy. It was really important that we offered more support services and more education, because regardless of where you are in franchising, whether you're looking to invest in a franchise, you want to franchise a business, you're an existing franchisor or franchisee, nobody's the finished article. There's something that everyone can learn. So building that and it being a different platform was the thing that I was really keen to develop.
There's 2 really strong points there, actually. The first one is, look, I learned to stand my ground. The second one is I got the opportunity to see what they wanted. So that's kind of you interviewing them, really. Actually, they're selling to you what they want. Before that, you mentioned it a couple of times now, imposter syndrome. Mm-hmm. And you use this example for every negative voice, which has nothing to do with imposter syndrome. Well, it might be. There was another 100 positive. Yeah. So just because some of the listeners right now have got imposter syndrome, you can relate to that, and you overcome it to a degree, unless you tell me otherwise. How many positive thoughts do you need to overcome a negative if you've got imposter syndrome?
Probably 1-on-1. For me, I practice gratitude. So when I'm struggling, I will think of 3 things out of my day that I'm grateful for. I'm grateful that, I spoke to X, Y, and Z member today because, we had a great conversation. It gave me a buzz. I'm grateful for the sign-offs that we did where we've brought these new members on board, working with Andy. I'm grateful to have spent time with the team this morning and done Worst Joke Wednesday,
Worst Joke Wednesday.
Yeah. We have different ones. Fun Friday, Worst Joke Wednesday, just different things that connect you as a team. I'm grateful that I get to spend time with them face to face once a month now. We went fully remote after the pandemic, and we connect every morning on Teams, but spending time with them face to face, you can't change the face to face chat. Sometimes it's I spoke to my business coach. For me, staying grounded and well-being became really important for me as part of leadership. So,
I mean, how do you maintain your well-being then and your professional growth? Have you still got ambitions professionally?
You can tell I don't go to the gym, so that's one that I should do. But no, I did therapy for a bit, to really understand who I was and deal with kind of personal challenges, the business coaching side of things. But for me, it was about building that tribe of people that became my support network, both personally and professionally. I've got friends that are in high profile roles in business, but not in franchising. So, tapping into them, spending time with them, putting a structure in place, because for a while I didn't really have that work-life balance element. I got it very wrong in terms of, I was quite happy to work 12 hours a day, but it was really separating out, putting boundaries in place, because understanding yourself and making sure that you are well and okay is what makes you a good leader. You can't be a good leader when you're self-obsessed with your own issues. So it was learning to almost compartmentalize some of that, but healing. I think everybody comes with baggage at some stage in life, and you go through that kind of healing process. And when you're good in you're better for everyone else.
You certainly are. I mean, build the tribe, the greats of Jim Rohn and all, you become the average of the 5 key people that influence you, or you hang around. How many people are in your tribe?
I've got a huge one. That sounded really bad. I've got so we have a board, so the board is 6, and I tap into a lot of them regularly, particularly the chair at any given point in time. From a friendship perspective, really close friends, 4 or 5, and each with different skills, and my parents are great. I've also got a sister, so she followed my parents, so she's in the license trade. So different experiences, but
nice,
great to offload to. So I have a very close knit family and friendship circle.
It is, but you've built it diligently. Like, you've decided who's going to be in it and what they're going to be in it. So build the tribe and get a structure for your work-life balance. Really, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Got some few simple questions for you here. I don't know how simple they're going to be, but what's the best gift you can give anyone?
If you're an ambitious business owner eager to unlock the next level of growth, then the UK's biggest business event is the place you need to be to grow your business.
Hi, I am Rachel Riley, and I'm really pleased to tell you that I will be the host of BizX 2025. 3 days of speaker sessions, interactive events, and a few surprises along the way, so you are not going to want to miss it.
The event You Need to Grow Your Business is happening from the 2nd to the 4th of April in Farnborough. Tickets won't be available for long. Get more information by registering your interest at thebizx.co.uk. BizX 2025, where ambition meets action.
Your time. I think that your time and your undivided attention are really precious in this day and age. So to be present and give somebody your time where you're not strictly on your phone.
Have you mastered that? Have you mastered it?
No. I can. So if someone's in a not good place, I can ditch everything and spend time. If friends are not in a good place, that for me is something that would affect me, so I would, I want to support. But I think that giving somebody your ultimate time and attention, when they need it, is the most important thing that you can ever give anyone. You can't get it back after you've thrown it away, can you?
Do you know what?
Times when it's gone is gone.
I've heard a few people say stuff like that before, present, undivided attention, the Chinese philosophy for listening, listen like the only person. But you actually said something in there that I've never heard before, which is really, really simple. I can ditch everything. If someone's in trouble.
Yeah.
And check out this for a statement. I can ditch everything and go and help them. And that's the best gift. Mm-hmm. Very good. What's the hardest lesson in life that you've had to learn?
In my journey, I get loyalty isn't always there. You can't judge everyone by your own standards. I have huge amounts of integrity. Like I said, standards sit at the heart. I'm incredibly loyal, and people don't always match that. So unexpected things, where somebody behaves out of the unexpected, that I find really tough. Reconciling myself with the fact that they've made a decision that I wouldn't make, I always find really hard.
How do you deal with it now?
I badly, probably. For me, I'm very emotionally driven. So I wear my heart on my sleeve. I can't be somebody that I'm not. The biggest lesson learned is to be your authentic self. Don't try and be somebody else. Everyone else has already gone. And I did try that for a bit, and it bit me in the arse. So, from my perspective, being who I am, both in and out of work, Pip that you meet down the pub is the same Pip that you'll meet when I walk off the stage at the annual conference. I am that social and that person everywhere. So I think that, but my thing was being authentic and accepting I am who I am.
How long?
And either like it or don't. It's that simple.
How long have you had that belief then? That because you're communicating it beautifully there. I mean, I believe everything that you've just said. So
probably 3 or 4 years.
Right.
For me, personal circumstances probably drove that. And it was that bit when I first struggled after getting the job as the CEO and not really finding my feet quick enough. Will always be a frustration, but it was a journey. And I think that everything you go through, personally, professionally, the good, the bad, the ugly, they all make you who you are. They help you to grow. They help you to learn. And like I said, every day is a school day. So even the crap stuff you learn from, and the crap stuff takes me longer to digest because I am hugely emotional. My emotions are massive. I wear my heart on my sleeve, and I am literally. But I will put everybody ahead of myself. Always have done, always will do. But I do it consciously. Before I didn't.
What's the most beautiful thing about leadership?
People. It is the growing and seeing how you can help people develop. It's giving people breaks that maybe wouldn't have had them. I will always laugh and say, Simon Wise, who recruited me in franchising 25 years ago, he'll tell you it's the best recruitment decision he made now. But at the time, I was somebody that I didn't have loads of qualifications. I was young, but I was just ambitious and driven, and he gave me a shot. And, I will be eternally grateful for that because it gave me the opportunity to grow, learn. Your own journey, you can't thank anybody else for, but somebody giving you the break at the beginning, you can. And I always want to give somebody a break. I want to give them an opportunity. And it's the reason I love franchising, because it gives so many people opportunities to change their lives.
Who is Pip then? In 3 words, who is Pip?
I was going to swear then. Pip is... I think someone that is fun, very humble, incredibly loyal, as you can probably tell from 25 years in franchising.
Yeah.
That'll probably be my 3 words.
I can see it's coming. It's all coming out. Be who I am. 3 or 4 years you've been that. Kind of feel like I've been on a bit of a journey with you, just learning about you, because I've observed from afar actually the BFA. We work very closely with you guys. And you've done an incredible job in franchising.
Thank you.
So, how do you define success now?
from a BFA perspective, net promoter scores.
Yeah.
I found those a few years ago, and ours is on the up.
NPS.
If our members are happy and my team's happy, I consider that a success. Obviously, financial success. The goal from an association perspective is break even, because we are not for profit. But for me, the success is defined in our members. Are they happy? Do they feel joy? And are they happy to be a part of the BFA? Do they feel that it's going in the right direction? Those are the measures for me. So when our members are coming back and saying, no, I don't like this, or this is off-piste, or I don't like that, we'll change it.
I love how you just laughed at first. You said NPS, but then you elaborated and you basically said happiness.
Yeah.
I define success by happiness of members and happiness of the team.
Yeah.
People first, And
for me, the work-life balance, the work-life balance element was really important. I didn't have that 4 or 5 years ago. When I've got that. I've got a solid partner at home. I'm getting married next year, touch wood.
Where you get married?
In Devon, obviously.
The best place in the world.
So so for me, that getting the balance of work and home and all-round happiness, I think, has massively helped my journey.
Was there a lesson to learn along the way to finding that balance?
The work-life stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, to be really disciplined. I wouldn't take annual leave because I was worried something could go wrong. I don't know why. But, but boundaries were one of the things that, and it's one of the things that it's a work in progress. It's having boundaries as a leader and saying, okay, I am going to go on holiday and I'm going to go away for 2 weeks, but for 20 minutes a day, I'm going to check my emails in the morning, and 20 minutes in the evening, I'm going to check my emails just so I feel comfortable, because that will make me relaxed. It's having boundaries with people on, I am contactable up till this point, but if you want me, give me a call tomorrow after night. Yeah. Or, the ability to say no was one that I learned over a period of time. But I think the healthiest thing that you can do as a leader is have boundaries and ensure that your staff have them. I hate hearing, I had to work extra because, I really felt I had to hit this goal. I'm like, who's going to die? No one's going to die.
Do you say that sometimes?
Yeah.
That's really cool.
If the shit hits the fan, we'll deal with it.
Just a second though. Has shit ever hit a fan?
No.
Imagine who came up with that phrase.
I don't know.
I mean, it's disgusting.
Yeah. No.
Sorry for painting the picture there, folks.
But yeah, so for me, it's. I want to instill in people, family comes first. Your health comes first. And then there's work. And if there are goals and deadlines, we will pull together as a team. If you need me, I'll work until 10 o'clock. You're not. It's that for me is it's a supportive leadership. It's making sure that you have clear boundaries, and sometimes you do have to go above and beyond as a leader, as a business owner, as a franchisee, as a franchisor. But it's having those boundaries that it doesn't rule you, that you are in control of the time that you need to spend, because time's precious.
What should the headline of this podcast be?
I thought about that before I came. I think growing up in franchising, the trials and tribulations.
Growing up in franchising, the trials and tribulations.
Of leadership, maybe.
The trials and tribulations of leadership, of career progression, of franchising. And now the listeners...
I'm not a marketing person, so if you come up with a better title after we finish, you use that.
The trials and tribulation of leadership, of career growth, and of
I am going to write a book. One day I'm going to write a book called Growing Up in Franchising.
Are you?
Yeah.
Well, you have grown up in franchising.
Yeah. It's going to be my book.
Yeah, you've definitely got a big audience that'll read it. Okay, so speaking of books, what's the best book you've ever read?
I've only really read properly one whole business book. I really struggle with them. I like a podcast, so I'll listen to some of those when I'm in the car. But Simon Sinek's Know Your Why.
His book.
Yeah. Was a good one. And it wasn't, a book will put me off if it's really big and fat. Yeah. I'm like, oh, God.
It's a weapon.
Yeah. For me, small bite-sized chunks. I set myself a task, and I spoke about this at an event we did. I can't sit down and read 10 pages of a book. It's literally, it's like saying walk on nails. I'm like, no.
But you can listen to a book or listen to a podcast.
No, I will listen to different things, but I do it in bite-sized chunks.
Yeah.
So I will find, I like a TED Talk.
Yeah.
10 minutes, to the point. I don't like it when people beat around the bush. I'd rather they were up front and straight. So it's finding things that work for you. And I worked with small, inspirational quotes. And then, I watch a lot of reels, where it's different parts. And if the message appeals, then I'll go and find the longer form version of whatever the reel is from.
Nice. Simon Sinek's book, Start With Why, it's a good book. My favourite part of today is, I think, number one, getting an understanding of your journey and your sort of philosophy. I've got a newfound appreciation for what you do, why you do it, and I can see that you're doing it. I can see that you're being you. But the second of all, you asked that question earlier on, am I making the difference? That's the question mark for you to stay where you're doing and keep doing. And then you shared the other bit on small decisions don't require leadership. Big decisions do.
Yeah.
People, standards, customer, listening at the heart of it. Those have been my favourite bits. What have been your favourite bits?
Just being here with you. It's been really cool. I quite enjoyed it. I was really actually quite apprehensive and nervous, I'm not going to lie.
What were you nervous about?
I don't like talking about myself. Right. My default position when you ask me about me will be to tell you about the BFA. It's almost the default. They come as two, I suppose, after 25 years. But no, just honestly thinking about it in advance and you saying, look, we're going to be talking about leadership, it made you think. It makes me think about how far I've come. That's what I like about it. And I think that that's an important lesson that any leader needs to take sometimes when you're not in a good place or you're having a bad day. Look back at your journey because how far you've come will help propel you forward again. It'll make you go again. So,
what an incredible way to finish. Pip Wilkins, thank you very much.
Thank you.